Hey y'all, hey! It's day 3 of our 5-minute exercise challenge where you, with your doctor's approval or many doctor's approval if that's what you need, do 5 minutes, and I do 5 minutes of exercise. Again, if it's safe for you. I have checked out with my doctor and what I'm doing is safe for me. So what am I doing? You already know if this is your 3rd day, but I'll just reiterate in case. I'm doing my QB JR1, which I think I included on the video that introduced this challenge, is sort of an elliptical movement of a pedaling machine. So it's not just like a bicycle. It's more like if you were on a recumbent bike or an elliptical machine, but I'm sitting down because all of my exercises I need to do seated because of my hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, HEDS. And so I'm doing that for 5 minutes, and then I'm doing 15 reps with the 2-pound weights in each hand, right? And so what kind of movement am I doing? I'm doing a full extension up and a full extension down with kind of a curling motion is what I'm doing. Again, you do what's safe for you, but I just wanted to be transparent about what I'm doing. And so day 3, 15 total minutes, 5 minutes a day. I'm so excited. It's more than I was doing before. And who knows, we may end up moving that to 7 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever we happen to do. I'm going to share some footage from the pedaling experience with you guys after this introduction, but I hope you're doing incredibly well. I hope that regardless of whether or not you're joining us on this challenge, I can remember it's fine just to watch it, right? Because I can remember, I mentioned Richard Simmons in another video, and I loved Richard Simmons. I'll have to share with y'all the picture I have of with Richard had signed it for me because I corresponded with the late great Richard Simmons for years and years and years. And then not on as regular a basis as some of the people who corresponded with him did, but he knew who I was and I knew who he was. And I loved him very much. I watched his show when I was a younger person. He had a show in the 80s. He was on General Hospital for a while. Just an incredible person. And he's from Louisiana too, like I am. So anyway, we lost him not that long ago, too young. But you know what? We can honor his memory by talking about him and thinking about him now. So he was a real advocate for people who struggled with their weight and with their fitness. And he did all those Sweat into the Oldies tapes, which was what brought me to this point in the first place. So I used to love to just sit on the couch and watch them without exercising. Y'all, they're hard. They're hard. I mean, you may be laughing at me, and that's fine. I love it if I give you a reason to giggle. But they're difficult. And it wasn't anything that I could really ever follow or along with standing up because I might dislocate or my joints might sublux. And so that's my movement for sublux. So I would sit down and I would just watch it. And I remember there was a comedian years ago who talked about this, who talked about watching his infomercials early in the morning, and she would be on the couch with a bag of Doritos going, I know, Richard. I know. I need to exercise. So I just thought that was kind of cute and funny. We've got to laugh, right? If we don't laugh, we end up taking ourselves way too seriously, which can lead to all kinds of negative feelings and behavior, and we don't want to do that. So I am going to grade today my students' work and give them feedback. That's the most important thing, is that they get the feedback that they need to move on to their new assignments with improved skills. And I am going to do some other admin work, reach out to students who may be struggling, be here for students who need me to workshop their assignments with them, because we have one day of sort of lecture, even though it's really, collegial, and we talk to each other and they ask questions and I ask them to be a part of the learning, because I don't believe that people can learn without owning their learning. I think we have an old style of education that some people may still use, and I don't know, I'm not judging anyone else, but banking education is what Paulo Freire called it. Banking education, where you just bank the information in, and that's not the best way to do it. The best way, I believe, to educate people is problem-posing education, which lends itself to a term called hudagogy, which is about teaching yourself, taking ownership of your own education, of your own learning, and letting your professors, your teachers, your mentors walk alongside you and help you to guide you in the right directions, but where you actually feel like your learning belongs to you, because it does. It really does. And that's the truth of when I was watching Richard Simmons. I did learn things. I might not have been up and sweating to the oldies as much. Now, he did have, I'll try to pop it up on the screen. He had this stretch into the classics. It was wonderful. I love to get up and stretch with Richard. And he would stand up, but I would modify that and sit down for almost all of it. So you can always modify, right? As long as your doctor is with you on that, or the healthcare providers who's responsible for helping you make exercise decisions, it's all good, isn't it? So anyhow, gosh, Richard Simmons, what was I saying? Oh yeah, I have an autographed picture of him. And I also, way back in the day, and I don't know where this may be, I don't know where we recorded it, but he had a Sirius radio, Sirius, is that Sirius XM? Radio show for a while, and I got to talk to him on that, because I don't know if I've shared this or not. I may have shared it sort of in passing already, but my top weight was 425 pounds. So I had a big weight loss by the time I started using Zepbound and now compounded Tirzepatide, until I get my Zepbound prescription next. Yeah, I don't know what I'm trying to say. My Zepbound prescription when I go to the doctor for my annual. So that prescription, that was, if you've watched those videos, it was an insurance kerfuffle and a doctor kerfuffle and stuff. So I just went ahead and, for my peace of mind, did the compounded Tirzepatide until, which I don't think, what's today? Is today the 19th? Y'all, I'm going to go check on that and come back to you and tell you how the Tirzepatide is going. Did I finish the train of thought? Because I do have an attention difference. Did I finish the train of thought with Richard Simmons? I was on his radio show. I got to talk to him, and it was so great. But we had already corresponded at that point, and that's when I got the pretty picture, which I'll share with y'all. So anyhow, let me go look up and see where the court ruling is as of today, because today was supposed to be the day we're on, or after today, or either after today. I'll check. Compounded Tirzepatide was supposed to go away, and we're going to see if that's happened or not. Because I think if I mention it, I probably need to research it and come back. So I'll be back in just a second. Exercise is happening. Almost to 3 minutes, y'all. 15 seconds, 14 seconds. Now we're almost to 4 minutes. Gotta pick up that Virginia thing that's down there on the floor. Anyway, closing in on 5 minutes. I can feel it. Okay, 5 minutes and a bit, because I had to stop a few times to reposition my apparatus. So here we are. We did it. And I've already done the lifts with my arms. I'm back, having done my research, my lovelies. So how it works is that yesterday was the last day for compounded Tirzepatide to be compounded, for lack of a better word, from 503A pharmacies. 503A pharmacies, according to the Food and Drug Administration in our country, and this is from the website for FDA.gov, are those that we just go to get our medication. So they're consumer pharmacies. Local compounding pharmacies fall under that. And so yesterday was the last day for them to distribute Tirzepatide. If you think I'm incorrect about any of this, please say so in the comments, and I'll go back and look and correct as necessary. So 503B pharmacies are pharmacies that make a large batch of a medication, or any kind of combination of those medications, because some of them actually include things with the Tirzepatide injection, such as like Zofran. I think I said this in another video, for people who are nauseated with Tirzepatide. So, or other things given, and maybe vitamins and things. And originally, that was how some people said that the 503B pharmacies were going to get around the rulings, and that other pharmacies would get around the rulings. That remains to be seen. So all of that taken into account, today was the last day that 503B pharmacies, those that make the big batches for medical facilities, were supposed to stop compounding Tirzepatide. And then yesterday was for the 503A regular compounding pharmacies to stop distributing those. And so I guess the key takeaway from this is that's tirzepatide. There's a different rule, I think, that goes into May for semaglutide. So if that's the GLP-1 agonist people are using, then it's a different rule. And it had to do with the shortages. When we had shortages of these medications, it was much more accepted. It was legal to make the compounded version of the medication because people needed the medication. Now, I did see on one of the pharmacy sites, that's a site for national pharmacies, that, the pharmacists are concerned. I think I'm very concerned, regardless of whether or not I get my prescription renewed for Zepbound, about people who will have that lag time of either not getting, best case scenario, they get a Zepbound prescription and they're all good, right? And I hope that's what happens for me. I think it will. But the worst case scenario is someone who couldn't afford it at all and needs it. But a little bit before that is the person who needs to get the compounded medication because that is all they can just barely afford because this stuff is expensive. I think I shared with you that my local pharmacy, it ended up being $250 for 4 shots, which is expensive. I'm so grateful I was in a position at that point to afford it. If I could not have afforded it, I would not have gotten it. You can believe that, if we didn't have food on the table and stuff. So we're very blessed in that, but I know not everybody is, and that's what really concerns me, y'all. It's one thing about me, but I'm a person in a position of relative privilege for so many reasons. And right now, that's the case. Anything, can happen, on that. But the whole idea is what happens to the most vulnerable people. That's what we've got to be so concerned with. I'm getting a little emotional, to be honest. The most vulnerable people, what happens to them, right? That's my biggest concern, is not so much, I can take care of what I need, but what about people who struggle? That's my big concern. So I don't want to bring us down unnecessarily on our exercise video, but I wanted to take a little shortcut to talk about that court ruling a little bit so that I didn't leave that loop unclosed for people who were watching this because they wanted to talk a little bit about the tirzepatide. Okay, so all that having been said, our exercise challenge is going so well. Right now, I have 4 minutes and 29, as of then, seconds on this video, and I know I'm going to add some to it, so it would be possible. I'm trying to make it so it would be possible for you to watch these while you're exercising if you want to. And that'd be fun. And I love you so much. As always, I hope you know how loved you are. I like to repeat that you are lovable just as you are right now. Nothing about you has to change for people to love you. And I do love you, and other people do love you. And I hope also that you'll continue to go in peace and love to serve others. And please do pray for Ukraine.